Davis, and you're watching the Sons of UCF Live.
Thank you, Kalia. Hello, Night Nation. I'm Trey Strelka. Welcome. Just uno mas, 1 day away, and we are reacting to breaking news this Wednesday. Plus, the depth charts are out with some surprises, and we are talking about the biggest storylines on defense and special teams. Let's welcome in the Sons of UCF, Adam and Mike. Mike, how is the charcuterie board coming together this evening?
Yeah, I got all the food ready. It's a whole spread. You guys don't got to bring anything. All kinds of food. I'm making potato salad, cubanito sandwiches, charcuterie. Don't even worry about it.
I like how this has grown from potato salad to sandwiches. The only thing you've really fessed up to is that you have balloons ready.
Yeah, I was obviously just kidding just now. Bring your own food. Bring your own drinks. I'm not bringing for everybody. I've warned you people for the last few weeks. All right, I'll bring a couple extra things. If I have leftovers, you can have some. Otherwise, you're on your own. Everyone
that stops by, please ask to have some of Mike's beer and food. Ask him, please. So depth charts released today. That's what we should be talking about on a special Wednesday edition with a home opener Thursday night at 7 against Boise State. Except some breaking news this afternoon. Tremont Morris-Brash arrested for a DUI over the weekend. He is not on that depth chart. Not a good development 24 hours out from your home opener.
Yeah, obviously disappointing. I don't think I need to mention, it's not a smart decision made by Tremont. Obviously disappointing, and hopefully it's a learning moment. I guess we'll see how the Gus Malzahn discipline era kicks off. He's got to deal with something right off the bat, so we'll see what the discipline is for Tremont Morris-Brash. Obviously disappointing from a decision-making perspective. Disappointing on the field as well. I think he's a guy that we've expected a lot out of. He showed flashes his first year. I think last year with COVID and whatnot, I think he was kind of finding his way. He's somebody I think we expected hopefully a big lift out of this year. And so to start the season off this way, definitely disappointing both from a decision-making perspective and then what we hoped he would bring on the field.
Something we just went through last year with the defensive guys getting pulled over by the police on campus. And this happens again for a DUI. Something I don't understand how that happens anymore in this age with Uber and Lyft and all these things. I mean, not saying I was a saint when I was a kid in their age, but this is a different time now. There's really no excuse for it. And then to be out at this time at night when you're game week, a couple of nights away from the game, I don't know what he's thinking. And he's paying the price for it now. And the whole team's paying the price for it, not having him out there. And we'll see if he's back at all this year.
Tremont, you can call a heck of a lot of night fans at 2:40 in the morning, and they'll pick you up from wherever you are and drop you back off at your room. So it's a crazy story to come out right before the season opener. But the depth charts, Mikey Keene emerges as the backup quarterback. We've been talking about him for some weeks.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I feel like this was the best kept secret we had out there. I mean, Gus kept kind of tipping his hand with talking about how much he liked Mikey Keene and how well Mikey had been playing. So I feel like that was probably the best kept secret, although, Gus did a good job being coy when you reporter types asked him in media sessions and availabilities. But I think he kind of tipped his hand. I think this is probably not a huge surprise just based on how much he talked up Mikey Keene during the preseason.
A lot of people have been impressed by Mikey Keene. None of us have actually seen him play at all because only we get those little snippets that Trace gets us when they're warming up at the beginning of practice. But he must have really impressed the coaches for a true freshman to come in and beat out a guy like Quadri Jones, who's been here now for seemingly 10 years. He's got to have done something pretty well during these last couple months. So good for him, and I'm excited. And if anything does happen to Dylan, then it's time to see what the future looks like with Mikey.
Kicker still up in the air, though.
Yeah, Gus is doing this thing. I'm not a huge fan of this. I wish I had a cow of the week option here on the live show because we've got a few positions where you've got the or concept here where it's guy or guy. And the kicker is one of those. It's listed as, and if you want to read into this, Riker Casey or Daniel Obarski. I think I saw reporting. I think Jason Beatty had this, who I think foreshadowing, we'll talk to in a few minutes. He had this in his column where the first name is meant to be the potential starter, but we could see the other guy. So there's a lot of ors out here, but if you're reading that and from what Beatty told us, I guess that would mean it's Riker Casey. But I'm still on record. I'm going to die on the Obarski is going to be the opening day kicker hill. So I might as well stay on that hill for right now. And it's probably a hill I will die on, and we all will at some point.
I think we might have stumbled on something during our show on Monday night. I think Adam hit it. I think Casey is the guy that is probably most reliable, probably 40 yards and in. extra points and the shorter field goals, Obarski probably has that stronger leg. Maybe you see him if we have to attempt something over 45 yards, 50-yarder, maybe something before the half, something like that. Otherwise, I'm expecting to see Casey out there doing the kicks.
Jason Beatty of the Orlando Sentinel expected to join us in just a few moments. UCF favored by 4.5 on this. Over-under set at 69. Mike, what do you like about that line?
You're trying to bait me into something, so with that 69 joke there.
Hey, it's a family show.
Whoa, whoa.
This is a family show. I have nothing to say on that. But I think that's lower than before. Last time I checked, the over-under was in the 70s, so it looks like it's come down a little bit. I expect a pretty high-scoring game. Both teams in the upper 20s. Maybe somebody cracks the 30s. I've been saying all week 34 or 35-28. And that would be over. So I expect a shootout tomorrow night.
Fans wear black in this one, the uniform combo, the white helmet, the black jersey, the white pants. That was one of the choices in last week's poll question. It was the least favorite of our poll respondents. Just 16% chose that. However, that is the uniform combo. And the concert series announced Jill's Cash Box. Mike, you'll be able to hear it very well as you're serving up the potato salad, the tailgate tent for the Sons of UCF, not far away from that concert area, I believe.
Yeah, we should be directly next to the stage. If you saw the map, I don't know if, Adam, you have the map on here. Maybe I'm taking you by surprise here. I've sent you that picture before.
Maybe, yeah, maybe you are.
Is he catching you by surprise by chance?
I posted on my Twitter. There's a map that shows exactly where we're going to be tailgating. And if you look at it, the stage for the concert should be right on the other side of those bushes, right next to us. So I've been on Adam for the last couple of weeks to make sure he brings his Bluetooth speaker, so we'll have some music. But I think for that last hour of the tailgate, the music will be covered.
He's not joking. I mean, literally every day I get a text from Mike reminding me about the Bluetooth speaker. It's already packed, Mike. It's already in the gear. So we should be good to go. I think I forgot to charge it, though. I got to work on that.
How long does it take you to get from the northern Florida area down to central Florida on a golf cart? How long does that take?
Battery life not strong in that. That probably could take me how many charging stations along the way? Probably a better part of a week.
Perhaps the new ESPN Plus crew that is chronicling UCF for our time UCF football, which debuts on the Plus September 9th, might get a little of Mike out there at the tailgate party meeting and greeting with the throngs of fans. But we really are less than 24 hours away from this big game. Head coach Gus Malzahn spoke with the media on Monday. He does not take Boise State lightly. He says this is a very experienced team.
I look at them, I see experience. I mean, experience everywhere. Offense, 9 starters, defense, 9 starters. Most of their special teams guys are back, and so that's what really concerns you.
It concerns him. Going to be a shootout, don't you think?
Yeah, it's hard to tell, man. These opening week games are so tough because you're going to get one of two options. You're going to get offenses that are rusty, that are trying to figure stuff out, that get timing down, rhythm down. I think typically early on in practices and in seasons, defenses typically are a little bit more gelled together. So it's hard to say, but we've seen these offenses, be so prolific in the past that you would have to think at some point the law of averages would be that we would have an offensive explosion of some kind. But these opening, week games are so tricky because everyone's still getting timing down, and typically defenses are a tad ahead of offenses in these. So I think you see a shootout, but I wouldn't be surprised if there's a couple of offensive drive struggles early in the game as people on both sides figure it out.
Yeah, it might be one of those games where the first half there's not much scoring. Maybe it's something like 10-7 going into the half. And then once the adjustments are made and people calm the nerves a little bit, in the second half things really pick up and each team puts 20 points on the board.
Well, that segues well into our biggest storylines on defense and special teams. I'll begin with defense. I'm curious to see what first-time defensive coordinator T. Will, how he calls a game and what adjustments they make. Coach Malzahn said, you just got to play the game and then the adjustments will come. So that's something I'm looking forward to see how the defense responds to T. Will.
Well, that and on defense, we have a lot of new guys who are going to have to gel together quickly, and you have to make calls on the fly. If Boise comes out different formations, how well have these guys kind of gel together? It's a talented group. I think we all assume that they haven't really played a lot of snaps together. I don't think this group has ever played any snaps together, right? So it's going to be the first time for a lot of these guys, and it takes a while, I think, to learn your teammates, learn where your corners are going to be. If you're a D tackle, where's the end like to rush? I think some of those things have to be figured out. So I think just the newness, how long does it take this group to gel, has spring practice and fall practice given them that opportunity? And adjusting to T-Will. It's his first time calling plays, I think, from a defensive perspective. So what does that look like? I think the newness, while exciting, how quickly can they all kind of form together as one unit?
Yeah, the defensive line, we've been talking about it all off season. That is going to be the key to this game. Everybody is worried about the secondary. Last year, we had a couple guys that got drafted in the NFL, and the secondary wasn't good. Why? Because the defensive line wasn't good. These guys cannot protect. They can't guard forever. So now if we're getting pressure on the quarterback, that's going to change the entire game. Big Cat, Kalia Davis, those guys getting to Bachmeier is going to make the difference in this game.
And then shifting over to special teams, I think the easy one is to say what you're going to have at kicker, and we still don't know the answer. We may not get all the answers after week one. I'm looking to see what the guys that are named at punt returning and kickoff returning, Amari Johnson named on the punt return team, and Ryan O'Keefe. So speedsters back there. I know, Mike, you've been talking about this on the podcast for a number of years now, that you're hoping to see someone break one.
These guys have the speed to do it. We've seen the speed of O'Keefe, and Johnson is an electric player too. Do they have the nerve to sit back there and on a fair catch and not fair catch every time? That's the one thing we saw last year was fair catch city. Every time there was a punt, I think we only tried to return about 4 punts all year. So can these guys sit back there like Joe Burnett, see the pressure coming, and just go anyway?
And let's not forget Andrew Osteen. I mean, he had a solid year last year, but he's like the forgotten person we're not talking about, right? Because the kickers have our attention. Who's going to be the returners? And I'm not saying Osteen had a bad year, but I mean, it was his first year really kind of taking over punting duties. So is he going to continue to develop and evolve? Obviously, Mike, no better defense than a punter that can pin you inside the 20 or even inside the 10. So can Osteen take that next step? He's kind of the forgotten guy on special teams because Obarski and Casey have taken a lot of the headlines.
That could be a big part of the game too. The hidden yardage and where you start on your drives. The average starting field position is a big key. So Osteen is going to play a big part in that.
Let's get into this a little bit more with the new beat reporter for the Knights for the Orlando Sentinel. He is Jason Beatty. Jason, no news is happening today. I thought I would open up asking you about the Knights' 12th commitment in Quan Lee, wide receiver, but this Trayvon Morris Brash news coming out this afternoon.
Yeah, it was a bit surprising. I mean, we saw the 2D depth chart, and that was like probably the biggest name not there. And to be honest with you, I didn't think much. I just kind of assumed, okay, well, it's a 2 deep. That doesn't mean you're not on the 2 deep. You're not going to play. I wasn't immediately thinking maybe he got arrested for driving under the influence on campus early Saturday morning. I just kind of assumed, okay, maybe we had expectations that, maybe someone beat him out in practice. But when news quickly broke by Brandon Helbig that he was in fact arrested on campus, driving under the influence around 4 a.m. on Saturday, that was pretty shocking. It's disappointing, obviously. Even if no arrest or arrest or no arrest, probably shouldn't be going out partying the weekend before your season opener. That's just my thoughts on that. But it's going to be interesting to see how Malzahn handles that. We've already seen Bentavious Thompson be dismissed from the team, and he wasn't even arrested. So, I don't know if he's going to play another down for UCF or not, but obviously that's up to Malzahn, and it's going to be interesting to see how he handles that, some adversity as a first-year head coach at UCF.
You had a quote from Coach Malzahn. Is that one that he gave you directly or through UCF Sports Information?
That was a release statement shared with the Sentinel first, but I saw it later on a couple other websites. So I think we were the first to get it, but he said he's going to handle it appropriately, and that's up to him, and we'll see what happens. I'll be curious.
All right, depth charts, like you mentioned, Jason, the other thing that maybe surprised some people, but maybe not if you're paying attention, Mikey Keene slots in as the new backup quarterback. I guess 2 parts for you. A, is that surprising to you? And then B, obviously Mikey's a true freshman. Do you think there will be some gamesmanship? Do you think Gus will redshirt him at some point, or do you think Gus will use him in games throughout the season if he needs him?
Yeah, to answer your first part, I don't think it's too surprising. I mean, we were able to watch 15 minutes of practice here and there, and when we were out there and they were going through some warm up drills, it did seem as though Mikey was getting those second team reps, over Quadri Jones and the rest of the quarterback room. Still, nonetheless, I mean, it's impressive for a true freshman to come in here and get that backup role. I mean, he enrolled early and he played for a successful team out of Arizona. They were top 25, top 10 national high school. So, if you look at his high school film, he's obviously got the it factor, it appears. It'll be interesting to see how Malzahn, I don't know if it's going to be a complete blowout Thursday night against Boise State, but, maybe against Bethune-Cookman or UConn later in the year, when Dylan Gabriel doesn't need to play the whole game. It's going to be interesting to see how Mikey Keene, where he sees the field, how often, and if Quadri Jones sees the field this season at all.
Obviously, with no Draymond on the defensive side, a little shakeup in the depth chart. I see Montalvo move over to defensive end, and then you see the linebackers listed as a buck linebacker and a night linebacker. They kind of tip their hand of kind of what kind of defense we're going to be running for this game?
Yeah, a little bit. I mean, I think the interesting thing about the buck and night, that the buck is something that Malzahn used while he was at Auburn. That position title, essentially, it's just a hybrid linebacker, and the night position is similar to that. I mean, it really depends if they want to use a 3-man front versus a 4-man front defensively, and obviously it depends on what they see against Boise State. But to have a guy like Bryson Armstrong out there, kind of all over the field, it's going to be interesting to see how he does in that system. Losing Draymond's a big loss, but there's still plenty of talent. I mean, the interesting thing about Anthony Montalvo is, honestly, I thought he was defensive tackle. I mean, he really was not telling us or talking to us like he was a defensive end. So that was a little bit of a surprise. I mean, we knew he was going to be a starter somewhere along that line, but I was not expecting him at D end at all.
Isaiah Bowser named starting running back on this depth chart. What are your thoughts on the way the running backs were listed?
Yeah, I think Isaiah, just the most experienced. He's the biggest back. I think it's going to still be running back by committee. Johnny Richardson's in there. Mark Anthony, maybe his health isn't as healthy as you'd want him to be. We saw him in that knee brace or at different parts of camp. But Isaiah has the most experience, and it's not surprising to see him get that starting role.
Jason, two new guys who kind of came into UCF's radar this past week. One was Joey Gatewood, who apparently has immediate eligibility. And then out of nowhere, the Kent State quarterback, Woody Barrett, is now a running back at UCF, which I don't think anybody saw coming. He's a big boy, though. Do you think either of those two guys see the field this year?
Yeah, the Woody Barrett thing was really interesting. That was extremely last minute. With Joey Gatewood, the interesting thing about him is, he went through portions of fall camp at Kentucky. So it's not like he's been sitting on his couch. I'm not saying Woody Barrett has either, but, he was going for that starting role at Kentucky, that starting quarterback spot, and he didn't get selected as the number one. That's why he decided to transfer. So, even though it's a different system, I'm imagining it's a different system, Kentucky's offense versus UCF's offense, he's still practicing and ready to go. So, obviously Mikey Keene's the backup. I think Quadri Jones knows the system well enough to, maybe be that cleanup quarterback. And who knows how else Joey Gatewood will be used. I mean, there's been some, not necessarily buzz, but talk that maybe because he's such an athlete, you can use him elsewhere on the field. The Woody Barrett addition, I think, you need depth at running back after you lose Bentavious. Obviously, RJ Harvey suffered a season-ending knee injury. To have those two guys go out, there's an experienced depth. To have a guy like him, he's in his redshirt senior season. He's been in a couple schools. I think he played at Auburn, or he was at Auburn previously with Gus Malzahn as well. So he's a Orlando kid. So he's hometown kid as well. But to get more depth to that running back position is important, I think. Even if he doesn't play, who knows?
What do you think Gus has up his sleeve this week? Do you think we see any trickery? Do you think he kind of plays it a little more conservative? I know everybody's waiting for that first trick play. What do you think he does this week?
Yeah, I mean, wasn't it in the spring game Ryan O'Keefe threw a pass to Dylan Gabriel? I don't know if we're going to see that tomorrow night, but who knows? It's there might be some tricks up his sleeves. Obviously the loss of RJ maybe takes that out. Obviously RJ Harvey played a little bit of quarterback, and he actually went to college originally for Virginia as a quarterback, but he's no longer 100% healthy. So maybe we'll see Ryan O'Keefe trick play the way we saw it this spring. I don't know.
On a recent show, Adam mentioned that perhaps there was meaning behind who was sent to the media. You know, Jason, I'm with you in the media room. Often we get no notice or just a brief notice, but Quadric Bullard was one of the early faces we saw, and he's listed there at safety.
Yeah, I mean, that was the really interesting thing when we were told that we weren't going to get much notice. I mean, it was literally 30 seconds sometimes. You know, I don't think we had talked with him once before. You know, so it was good to get to know him, literally get to know him. You know, because not many, I mean, I personally knew about him because of recruiting and I followed that stuff, obviously, but, you know, your average UCF fan still might not know who he is until today to see that he was, you know, at that safety spot. But, you know, that's what he talked about when we spoke with him. He wants to make a name for himself and really, you know, open some eyes and say, hey, look at me, I'm back here. So, you know, when you lose so much in that secondary, you talked about Richie Grant, Aaron Robinson, Tay Allen, to see a guy like him rising up the ranks and getting in that 2D depth chart and being a major contributor back there, I'm excited to see what he looks like out there.
Well, another name that's interesting on the depth chart, Jason, is the backup cornerback listed as Brandon Adams, true freshman. I know Devad Wilson mentioned his name in his presser a couple of days ago, but you know, he jumps guys like Zamari Maxwell, but he also jumps a guy like Justin Hodges, who got some run last year. What are you hearing about Brandon Adams, and how surprised were you to see him on the 2D?
Yeah, you know, we had heard, like you mentioned, a couple guys, some veteran guys have mentioned Brandon Adams. He's a high school cornerback out of Georgia. He played in the All-Star game. They have a Georgia-Florida All-Star game in South Florida early in January, earlier this year. So for him to come in and, you know, maybe open some eyes and similar to Quadric Bullard, make a name for himself early in his college career, I'm excited to see what he looks like. And you know, having that youth at cornerback is nothing new for UCF. Devontae Brown, Corey Thornton, you know, those guys were true freshmen last year. Corey Thornton started every single game. So, you know, having youth at cornerback is nothing new for UCF, and Brandon Adams seems to be that next guy.
And a quick follow-up, we saw Jarvis Ware transferred in from Missouri. There's some rumors about his health. Do you have any update on Jarvis Ware's status?
Yeah, you know, I will say that obviously we know that what Brandon Helbig reported about his health and his knee. You know, he'd previously suffered his ACL, tore his ACL previously. So, you know, I before when we got to see him in fall camp and he was still practicing with the team, he was wearing a special uniform, still had a knee brace on. You know, so they were already being extremely careful with him. Obviously, there was some buzz that maybe he would be, you know, in that contributing role. But this staff is pretty, you know, close to their chest with information. You know, so I haven't been able to get exactly his status, but I wouldn't expect to see him.
Boise State also released their depth chart today. Were there any surprises coming out of Idaho? And which area do you think we can most take advantage of their weaknesses?
Yeah, you know, I haven't been following in terms of surprises and what was surprising and what was not. I do know they're a really experienced group. Malzahn mentioned, you know, 9 starters back on defense, 9 starters back on offense. We knew about Hank Bachmeier and the offense he runs. You know, it's going to be interesting to see, you know, the type of offense that they'll be running out with Andy Avalos. So, you know, he's more of a defensive-minded coach. So, you know, I think this whole gamesmanship with the depth chart, you know, maybe we would have gotten UCF's depth chart Sunday night or Monday, and then Boise State said, hey, we'll release ours on Wednesday. And I guess you got to react to that and keep up with the times.
The newcomer, Bryson Armstrong, listed in the night position. We had an opportunity to speak with him a couple of weeks back. There was a little bit of buzz around him, and now he's named a starter.
Yeah, I think that's probably the most anticipated player I'm looking forward to watch. I mean, we talked with him, and he seemed really poised. Definitely a veteran guy. You know, he's considerably probably one of the best defensive players to come through Kennesaw State. You know, I asked him about the differences between FCS and FBS and what that talent level is like. I mean, when you're one of the best players, you know, in the FCS, I mean, how does that translate to the field at this talent level? That's going to be interesting to watch and see how, you know, he handles that adversity. So I'm excited to see what he can do and how they use him. We've heard so much. I mean, obviously he plays linebacker, but you know, at that night position, maybe he'll play a little bit of nickel in the secondary as well.
Jason, for somebody like yourself who's seen every snap of Dylan Gabriel's career, what do you want to see him do in year 3? What are you looking for in terms of how he can grow his game or how he can continue to get better?
Yeah, that's a really good question. I mean, he even said it himself. He told my colleague Matt Marshall freshman year he was managing the games. Last year he was controlling the games. This year he wants to take over the games. I think last season he did a good job being a bit more accurate as a passer. Under Josh Heupel's system, he was really taking a ton of deep shots down the field. It's why he has the most 400-yard games in program history. I think 4 of those, or maybe 5 of those, 400-yard games. So I'm excited to see how Gus Malzahn uses him. He'll have to continue to be accurate as a passer and use more of the field, right? I mean, I'm excited to see how they use the middle of the field, because that's something, Josh Heupel didn't do a whole lot of. That was obviously one of the big criticisms of his system. So for him to get that opportunity and grow as a quarterback and continue to be, maturing and growing as a leader as well, that's something I'm looking forward to seeing from him.
Trace mentioned briefly earlier, Quan Lee, the latest commitment coming in. He was committed to Miami and today decided to come to UCF. What can you tell us about him? How excited should we be about this guy?
Yeah, it's really interesting. I think, when you say Quan Lee, a UCF fan might, like if you see him on social media, he's, I don't want to say drama queen, but he definitely does like the social media aspect of the recruiting game. And that's most high school kids do, right? I mean, they're 17, 8-year-old kids making important decisions. And sometimes social media can mean a lot to them. And that's what the digital age is, right? With millennials and, all these kids growing up nowadays. But, on the field, he has that talent. 24/7 Sports recruiting analyst Andrew Ivins, he described him as one of the best players at one of the Florida Gators Friday Night Lights camp they held in July. So clearly the talent is there. Maybe he lets the recruiting process to get to his head a little bit. You mentioned he was previously committed to Miami. I don't know exactly what happened there, but I think it's a really nice pickup for UCF. I think UCF's a great spot for him. Maybe he's not that high power 5, but he's talented enough to, grow as a receiver. And we see what, Marlon Williams was able to do. And obviously Trey Nixon and Jacob Harris. So there's been success over the years, going back to Traquan Smith and previous receivers before him. Obviously, I think Quan Lee has an opportunity, if he sticks around and stays committed. And obviously you have to get all the way to December and signing day. But I think he's a really talented receiver, despite the drama you may see on social media.
Let's wrap up with this. I saw a question just flash across the screen asking no talk about Jordan Davis. Have you heard anything about him?
Yeah, Jordan Davis, obviously the little brother of Gabe Davis. There was one practice where we were able to watch, and I think I saw him out of uniform just kind of walking around. So I know he had an ACL injury before he even came to campus. So he'd been recovering from that. I don't think the health is 100% there for him, and he's still continuing to recover.
And let me finish with this. For you, what's the biggest difference so far in covering Gus Malzahn and his staff versus Josh Heupel and his?
Man, I wish I could give a better answer on the staff part of that. We don't get to talk with half the guys. I wish I'd be able to talk with DJ Kinney and Herb Hand like the way we did in the spring, because there are some good characters on the staff. But, dealing with Malzahn day to day, I can tell he's had SEC experience. It's not his first rodeo. That's the biggest difference, I think, on a media perspective, the way we spoke with Scott Frost and Josh Heupel and the way they organize things and, and the way they handled practice, I guess, you could tell a difference between that first year ever head coach to Gus Malzahn. Even though he's new to UCF, he knows what he's doing.
Jason Beatty, the new beat reporter for UCF for the Orlando Sentinel. He will be busy on Thursday night from the Bounce House at The Real Beatty. What's the other Twitter handles that folks can follow you for UCF Knights coverage, Jason?
Yeah, our main Orlando Sentinel page at OS Knights. You can go to the Orlando Sentinel sports section and find UCF, or you can go directly to our new URL splash page. All Access Knights takes you right to the UCF section. We have a great deal going on. $1 unlimited all digital access for 6 months. That takes you all the way through football season. So I think that's a great deal at Orlando Sentinel, allaccessnights.com. Thursday is going to be really exciting.
Jason, I have a quick question. Your Twitter handle is The Real Beatty. Was there a fake Beatty at some point? Was there like a stunt double Beatty that you were trying to ward off?
No, there was once a much younger version of myself.
Okay, fair enough.
I'll keep it at that.
Jason, thanks so much for joining us. I'll see you on Thursday.
Thank you so much. Appreciate it.
Thanks, Jason.
All right. As he mentioned, as we've talked about, maybe using the middle of the field more, maybe that'll mean a little bit more of tight end Jake Hescock. I had opportunity to catch up with him during media day, and he sure is hoping the offense will feature the tight end more.
We're hoping, yeah, that's the plan. As I've grown as a player, I think my role has grown, and this year I think I'm the best version of myself so far. So hopefully this will be the biggest role that I've had in an offense.
So in your preseason Sunnies, what was the over-under on tight end receptions? Was it receptions or touchdowns?
It was receptions. Yeah, it was total receptions. I think it was 25 and a half. And then most people took the over. And I found it interesting in the two deep. So Hescock listed as a starter, and then Alec Holler was listed as a backup. We all saw Charlie Browder play really well in the spring game. We heard Jordan Davis, or we saw Jordan Davis's name brought up. So you wonder, if and who that weapon will be on the receiving side. Does Hescock have that skill set in him? Frankly, we just never got a chance to see it. I think he does, but we don't know. Alec Holler strikes me more as a blocking tight end, and Charlie Browder looked like more of the receiving threat, sort of the mini Gronkowski, if you will. So I'm curious to see what the tight ends look like, but I'm sure Hescock and those guys are looking for the opportunity to finally get out there and turn around and actually have a ball thrown in their direction.
Yeah, Hescock is that end zone target that you look for, the big, tall guy in the back of the end zone. The Holler thing has to be because he's a better blocker than Browder, I would think. That's got to be the determining factor when you come up with the backup tight end.
You can always count on Lonely Bumblebee to bring the humor.
Poor Jason tried really hard to say close to the chest, and it just didn't come out. I felt bad for the guy.
A question, flash question that I asked this week for the big question, the Twitter poll. What will be the attendance for opening night? Thank you, Mike, for offering up a Sons of UCF hat for whoever is closest to the number. Quite the split on this one. I'll tell you what, there are a lot of tickets being made available on social media and Ticketmaster and the like. So it does not seem like it's going to be a packed house. I think the caveat, the wild card here is how many students flow into the game.
Yeah, I think on the show I said I didn't think we would get the sellout status. If I'm looking at your splits here, Trace, I'm probably in that 40 to 42.5 camp, I guess, is where I would be at, which it looks like was the majority anyway. So, again, I think it's also a random Thursday. Are people able to get out? Again, obviously, we know what's going on with COVID and some concerns there. So I wouldn't be surprised in that 40, 42 range.
When they announced this number, it's tickets sold. Just because a lot of people are reselling it doesn't mean that it's not going to count towards the attendance. How many tickets are we from selling out the season? I think it's under 1,000 as it is. So that number is going to be a little different maybe than what's in the actual building. And good luck to Trace, because he put this question out there. He's got to go through about 80 different submissions to see who actually wins this hat. I'm glad it's you and not me.
By the way, Robert's asking if the prize winner gets potato salad. Robert, that's free if you just show up to the tailgate and ask for mine. Over the weekend, Boise State made a media availability with first-year head coach Andy Avalos, and I asked him about naming Hank Bachmeier the starter for Game 1.
Coach Trey Strelko, Sons of UCF. Speaking of quarterbacks, would you tell us a little bit more about Hank Bachmeier and why he won the battle over Jack Sears?
Adam?
Yeah, very much so. The biggest thing is how Hank has grown as the leader off the field.
Am I gone now?
And being able to lead guys while we're on the field, and not only lead them, but put confidence into them, handle the operation of the pre-snap, and be able to execute and make those final decisions, at the end of plays. And the consistency of which Hank has done that throughout the course of camp, and really here in the last week and a half has been really impressive.
Trace was so blown away with that comment that he had to take a second off because you saw Trace ask the question and he's there. I also love the fact, Mike, this show has been going on for 34 minutes and we have not yet addressed that Trace has been frozen the entire time. I think that's a good part. But listen, if you don't come here for Boise State talk, but I can tell you this, Hank Bachmeier, while he's been up and down, like he did go on the road. Now, granted, he beat a terrible Florida State team under Willie T and the bus drivers, but he did go on the road and he did win a game in Tallahassee. So he's got some experience there. I think he's been inconsistent. He's been injured. What are you going to get from him? I don't know, but obviously he was tabbed the starter, so Avalos must see something he likes in the kid.
I remember watching part of that Boise State Florida State game, and if I remember correctly, Florida State jumped on them pretty early in that game, and Boise State never gave up and battled back and ended up winning. So just because we get off to a good start against these guys, I wouldn't take that for granted. This Bachmeier is a fighter. He's a very good player, and the rest of this team is very good too. And it's a much better than everybody's internet connection this week because I can't hear half of what any of you guys are saying. Adam looks like he's frozen right now. Trace is in a black square. I'm all by myself. I feel like Garth in Wayne's World.
I mean, we can hear. I can hear you perfectly fine. I don't know.
I don't know. You sound choppy to me. I barely heard anything Beatty said, and I don't know what to tell you about Trace.
Trace is there. He looks frozen right now. He was there for a second, so it's hard to say. We are efforting. So there's a Boise State watch party going on, Mike, and Trace has lined us up to maybe talk to one of the combatants from Boise State. Trace is gone now, so we'll see if this guy calls in. What's your strategy with this guy if he calls in? Are we talking trash to him? Are you being nice to Boise fans? What's your stance on that?
You know, you always got to treat these fans with respect. They came all the way across the country. You don't want to go off and start fights or anything with these guys. As long as they don't start any trouble, we don't start none, won't be none, right? That's the way it always is. Everybody's here for a good time. Everybody wants to enjoy the game. There's going to be drunks. There's going to be idiots out there. Hopefully, there's few and far between, and we don't see any fights or anything like that. When the visiting crowd comes, they usually have their own little section of the stadium. They stay over there. There's not too many problems. If they come over into some of the other rowdy sections and cause trouble, then I don't know what to tell you. I hope there's not too much blue and orange in the cabana because then you never know what's going to happen.
All right, let's try throwing it to our colleague, Trace Trelko. No, Trace Trelko, and no Boise State fans. So things are going well here on the Sons of UCF podcast live edition, Mike. So let's get back to the two deep really quickly. Is there a position that you're most concerned about once you saw what the two deep looked like and who was actually coming out there? Is there a position you're most concerned about?
I heard you making noise. I couldn't hear one word you just said. Both you guys are turning into black screens on my computer here, and
yeah, this is going really well.
Trace is gone.
Hopefully the game is better tomorrow night than this, Mike. Two deep, Mike. Anybody, any position on the two deep you're most concerned about? The two deep? Anybody? Can anybody hear me? If anybody's out there, is anybody concerned about a position on the two deep? Just let me know. Get in the chat session. I feel like I'm now doing a solo show here live. So if anybody's out there, just get in the chat.
I don't know
let
what
me
you're
know.
saying.
I know you don't. Nobody seems to know what I'm saying. I'm not sure I know what I'm saying right now.
This has not been our smoothest episode here.
I see comments. Mike, will Mike be harassing?
I will not be Oh, the Boise mascot. Yeah, if you remember years ago, I got after the FAU mascot, the owl that looked like he had herpes on his head. I never let him hear the end of that one. The Boise mascot, it depends. I don't even know if they're making the trip. Last year with COVID, a lot of mascots, a lot of bands didn't even make the trip. I don't even know what the Boise mascot is. But you never know. Sometimes it's something different. I don't even know what it looks like, if they even have one.
Isn't it? It's a Bronco, no? Yeah, maybe. No, it's a Bronco.
I don't even know if Adam's trying to talk right now.
I am trying to talk.
Me. Hey guys, we're having a big tailgate party tomorrow, right in front of the stadium. 2:00 it kicks off. We're gonna have all kinds of games out there. We'll be playing beer pong. We got a game called Launch that our buddies. It's a spin-off of cornhole, and it's kind of mixed in with darts. And lots of beers, drinks. We got a concert. There's gonna be an extreme pogo show going on right next to us. So I'm expecting to have a great time out there tomorrow. I don't know what's going on with this show right now. If anybody else can actually disappearing, I don't even know if you guys can hear me. I definitely can't hear anybody else. Adam is frozen. He goes into a black circle. Adam is the only one with good internet.
It's me, Mike. I'm carrying the show right now. My back is killing me from carrying you guys. Back hurts. Spinal. I hear you guys. Trace is gone, according to Mark. So this is going really well here. I appreciate that. There are actually people watching this, which is odd. Koseg says, Mike, they can hear you. So just keep talking, Mike. I don't know. I don't know how you're gonna.
Says he hears me.
Yeah, no, I said that already. Yeah.
And the other guy said he heard you.
Yes.
So I don't know what's going on.
So me, plus you equals a show, I think, at this point. So
this is the kind of stuff you can expect only from the Sons of UCF.
Somebody asked if there would be this is Knight Longwood asked, would USF, the Cows, be launching a Sons of USF podcast? If they did, I imagine it'd be just like this, very poorly produced.
I heard you say the question about the Sons of USF.
Yes, and I imagine it would be
way ahead of the script here.
It would be just like
this. USF, I guess.
Oh, wow. Okay. Son of, yes, I've now been a solo act here, Robert. I appreciate you for that. Diana is laughing at us. Trace is feverishly trying to get back in this thing. I'm just going to bring up Trace's black square for a moment there. Cost Seg Advisor says, Mike, you're letting the cat out of the bag. He's blaming it on you. Mike's frozen again.
I can't hear anything, man. This show's a disaster. The worst one we've ever done.
Yeah, I mean, maybe Mike, you should try logging off and logging back in. I don't know.
I'll get out. I'll come back.
Okay. Did you hear that, or did you just say that out loud? All right. Welcome back to the Son of UCF Live. It's just me here live on the show. We've got some questions here. I'll get to the mailbag while we try to figure out if Mike can come back in here. E.T. Johnson 4 wants to know, how much potato salad will Mike bring, and will it have mustard? So here's the thing, guys. Mike, you don't want Mike's cooking, first of all, because it's not going to be good. I don't know if he'll bring potato salad or not. I actually have never seen Mike eat potato salad because he's typically one of these guys who doesn't do carbs. So I don't know how that'll work. Laz Lopez has a fantastic question here. The Cows versus Bishop Sycamore. Who are we taking? Man, I feel, you know what? I feel like, what's the line on that, Laz? I feel like I got Bishop Sycamore on a last second field goal. Yeah, I feel like that's how that goes. Mike and Trace, neither one of them get back in here. This is fantastic. Mark Kruger says Bishop for sure. Mark, I agree with you. Mike Wee 55 wants to know what defensive players not named Big Cat will have an impact against Boise. Listen, I think if they're going to throw the football, I think the secondary is going to have to step up, right? We're going to have to see what we have in a Devad Wilson. We're going to have to see what we have in if Quadric Bullard's out there, if it's Derek Gaines. And again, we have some young corners out there. So did those guys make a step from year one to year two? Obviously, we saw Devontae Brown a little bit. We saw Corey Thornton a little bit. Did they make a step from year one to year two? I think if UCF's going to do anything on defense, the corners are definitely going to have to help out. So we'll see if we get anything from the cornerback position here. We have a comment here. Robert is offering to cook for the Sons of UCF tailgates one of these days. Robert, by the way this show's going, I'm not sure that we'll have anything left in the tank for us here. Our good friend J.A. Hadaway wants to know a fearless prediction. How many regular season wins for UCF in 2021? I think I'm on record as saying there's at least one loss in the schedule. So that probably makes it a 10 or 11 win season. I don't quite know where that loss is at yet. I don't think it's Cincy. I firmly don't believe it's Cincy. I know a lot of people think that it is, but I don't think it's Cincy. But I do think we have a tricky SMU game down the road there. Our good friend Chris has 10 wins coming on there. So I don't think it's Cincy, but I do think maybe we stub our toe at some point down there. Garajas Debbie wants to know, except for Boise, looking at the schedule, away games that are concerning or challenging. Yes, I think there's a few. Obviously, Cincinnati is an away game. That's probably the easiest and the biggest one you would think about. Louisville early in the season, again, one of those weird early games, a weird Friday night game. I assume they're going to pack the stadium there. I don't know how good Louisville will be. They've got some things they have to figure out with their new coach, Scott Satterfield. And oh my God, I don't have to talk to myself now. We got UCF Mike back live, and we got Trace Trunco back live. Are you both here? Can you both hear me?
I can hear you.
Oh, the Sons of UCF show has returned. We are halfway through the mailbag at this point. I have been filibustering like nobody's business. Guys, the question from Debbie was road games and concerns. I brought up Cincy, obviously will be a road game of concern. Louisville and then SMU as other concerns. Maybe Navy as well. Do you guys have any road game concerns? Mike, I'll start with you.
I'm not concerned at all. You heard our episode a couple weeks ago, 12-0. Obviously, there's some games that are harder than others. I'm not scared of East Carolina. I'm not scared of the Cows. The games you mentioned, Louisville, I expect them to put up part of a fight, but I think we're the better team than most of these teams on our schedule.
Can I just say that I work on this laptop all day long, and I've been at home all day, and I didn't have a problem with any meeting or anything until this show comes on. I just thought I'd express that.
You just did. You not only can you, but you literally just did say that. Mike, an important question is coming in. After the show, will you be in the kitchen whipping up the potato salad? How's the recipe coming along? A lot of potato salad questions.
Yeah, I just got a fresh box of raisins so I can throw in there for everybody because I know everybody's dying to have raisins in.
While you two were gone doing whatever it is you guys were doing, Mike, I actually mentioned this, surmised. I don't pretend you to be a guy who likes potato salad. I feel like you're typically not a carb guy, so potato salad as a side dish for you seems a little weird. No,
I don't think you know me as well as you think. I eat everything. I eat everything. I don't care if there's carbs, no carbs. I'm not on any of those special diets. So yeah, I eat potato salad, macaroni salad, whatever you got. You put it in front of me, I'll eat it.
All mushed together.
That's right. I'll eat it and then ask you what it was afterwards.
All right, our next question. We are on Black and Gold. Ed, he wants to know, lots of talk over the summer. The DG needs to win the big game. Is Boise the big game he needs to win, Trace?
I think Mike said it well last week that it doesn't matter which game he wins. It's always going to be, okay, he beat Boise, but can he win at Cincinnati? Can he win at Louisville? Can he win at SMU? So I think it's going to dog him all season.
Yeah, he's gonna when he loses a game, then somebody's gonna say he couldn't win that big one, So the next game is always the biggest game. That's cliche, I know, but as the season goes along, every game is gonna be bigger than the next. So and all the way until we get to the New Year's Six game.
Well, a lot of it depends on Boise too, right? Because if Boise comes out and they have a bad year, then is that the big game anymore, right? Like we give him a lot of credit for Stanford, and he played well, but Stanford was 4-8 that season, so that kind of discredits that a little bit. So if Boise ends up, not being what Boise, thinks they're going to be, or what we hope they're going to be, that could be an issue. Brian W. Peterson, guys, has an interesting question, and this is kind of in response to what he's calling some of the criticism against DG and not winning the big game. In any of the losses that we've had. And he's naming Memphis, Tulsa. Is DG the reason for the loss? So is he being unfairly blamed for not winning the big game when the reality is there were a lot of things that took place, maybe coaching, maybe defense, that caused that? Trace, is DG unfairly characterized as somebody who can't win the big game?
Probably so, and it's because he's following Mackenzie Milton at quarterback. So, yeah, but it's the quarterback. It's the one with DG, the brand, on air fresheners and fanny packs that gets the notoriety and the limelight. So, yeah, I think it's going to dog him. I think it is an unfair criticism of him. But, there are several big games this year, and UCF is going to need to win them, and they're going to need to win them with his arm and perhaps his legs as well.
Those games he mentioned were last year's games. I don't think you can really blame him for those. But go back. I know he was a freshman, but the Pittsburgh game, with a couple turnovers early in that game, the Cincinnati game, the interception for a touchdown. So some of those big plays that came back to haunt us, they kind of were his fault. And then when you are the leader of this team, you're expected to carry the team a little bit and overcome some of these defensive deficiencies. He couldn't have asked for anything more than what he did in Memphis last year, 650 total yards. That's not his fault. But I guess you got to say he's got to score a touchdown at the end of that game instead of putting it in the kicker's hands.
Guys, the internet vultures were at bay when I asked this question, so I'm going to circle back to it so I can get your opinion. Knight Longwood wants to know, in response to the Cows now doing some sort of a Strolling with Kaylee segment, which would appear to be a direct ripoff of the Strolling with Sammy segment. When can we expect a Sons of USF podcast? And will it look exactly like tonight's show where there's half, then Trace is gone now. Will it look exactly like tonight's show where no one can hear each other and we're all talking by ourselves? Mike, Sons of USF podcast coming soon?
Yeah, Sons of Bitches of USF, or the Bastards of USF. Something similar, but those guys copy everything other people do. It's a little ridiculous. They don't even try to hide it when they do stuff like that. I mean, Strolling with Sammy, at least there was alliteration. They just took this girl's name. I don't even know what it was, but they didn't start with an S, and they made it Strolling with whoever it was. If they do a Trace Choco walk and talk every week, I'm going to start fighting people.
Trace, should we expect you soon appearing on the Sons of USF Live?
No, not a chance in hell.
Okay. All right. Well, I'm glad I know where your allegiances are. Ryan Patton 82 wants to know a question that we now know the answer to, but his question was, who will start at running back? So obviously Isaiah Bowser is going to get the call, but we saw Johnny Richardson listed second, and then we saw Mark Anthony Richards listed as an or. We know, again, we have a couple of guys else back there, Damaris Good as an option as well, and we brought in Woody Barrett as a big guy. Any surprises, I guess, in the Isaiah Bowser? Are you guys comfortable with Bowser being RB1, Mike?
Yeah, I like Bowser. He's got the guy with the most experience. Remember, he played a lot as a freshman up at Northwestern. So I like him in there. And I like the combination of Johnny Richardson being that other punch with him, the lightning to his thunder. I think that's a good 1-2 punch to start the year.
Trace, Ryan also wants to know starting DNs. Obviously, the news today with Trayvon Morris-Brash being arrested on suspicion of DUI certainly puts a hamper in his playing time. Antonio Montalvo is starting at DN. I think Jason Beatty said it best. I don't think any of us thought of him as a DN. A name that was not on the depth chart, Trace, and I wonder if you think this is a factor. Stephon Zayas, who we saw play a ton last year, not on the 2 deep. Now that Traymon is out, what do you think this does for the defensive end position?
Well, I agree what we talked about earlier about Anthony Montalvo, that no one saw this coming. And again, this is not the news you want with Trayvon Morris-Brash out just a couple of days beforehand. And the big question is, what does UCF do going forward with him? Stephon Zayas is a good name that was not part of that mix. Still feel, though, that offensive and defensive lines are going to be strengths for this team, no matter the players that rotate in and out.
All right, the question that's on everybody's mind, UCF Feisty wants to know, how much should we worry about the kicking game? Again, we think Riker Casey is the kicker, but Obarski is the or, so we don't really know. Mike, on a scale of 1 to 10, 10 being the most concerned, where's your level at as you sit here, I don't know, some 23 hours from bouncing?
11. If the game comes down to a kick, I am not confident at all. I'm not going to be confident until I see these guys actually make the kicks. And that's just, that's the life of a kicker, though. I mean, you can make every kick and then you miss the final one and you're the GOAT. It's a tough life to live. We talked a couple weeks ago to Paul Carrington. He told us what Matt Prater told him. All eyes are on you when you're a kicker. And if you miss it, everybody notices. I hope all these guys have the best season possible and they don't miss a kick all year. But eventually it's going to happen and everybody's going to turn on them.
Tracy, you were there a bunch. You saw kicks going up and down. You were there in the parking lot when Geico insurance adjusters were assessing dings on cars in the parking lot from misses. Where's your level of concern at 1 to 10?
A lot. I concur with Mike. I think the question is, does Gus Malzahn have confidence to go to a kicker, or is he going for it 4th down? And if he doesn't go to a kicker early on in this game, what message does that send to the kickers? Until we see a guy make a kick and gain some confidence in an actual game and not practice, I think it's a big cause for concern.
The next one is from me and Angus, and this is one I have no answer to, Trace. I think you may be the only guy who knows this, maybe Mike, so we may have to crowdsource this answer. Angus wants to know, is the Jeremiah Ice Citronite flavored worth the wait in line? I have not sampled this delicious treat. Has anybody had the Citronut flavor from Jeremiah's Ice?
I've had that once. I wouldn't wait in line, but it's fine if it's a small line.
I've never had it. I wouldn't wait in line for any concession during the game. I'm there to watch the game. If I get a break at the halftime, it's usually when I go run down and get some extra snacks or something. But I'm not wasting time in line for anything.
Any concession, Mike?
I'm getting beer, but I'm walking to the top of the cabana and I can still see the field. Or
so
where I
strategic.
can actually see the field. Or I wait for the beer girl to come up to the aisle.
Folks will be waiting in line for that homemade potato salad. We're way back from that tailgate tent tomorrow.
Yeah, so if anybody's had the Citronut flavor, you can hop in the chat, let us know. Trace, while you were gone, I hope you enjoyed your rest.
What did I miss?
Well, we did not cover the news and notes section, which I think is definitely up your alley. So if you want to quickly take us around the kingdom, as I think we used to call it on UCF Sports, what's going on in some of the other non-football related news?
Yeah, volleyball opened the season. They beat St. John's. They lost to Georgia Tech, Penn State. These are ranked teams. They're 1-2 to begin the season. They traveled to Clemson and then 2 matches with South Carolina over the weekend. So tough opponents for UCF to begin the season. I can feel Mike already getting the hot seat ready for any coach that does not win it all this coming season, including Todd Dagenais. Women's soccer, they climbed to number 18, even though they lost 2-1 to LSU, now 17th ranked LSU. Big one Thursday, head-to-head with a game at the Bounce House at Ohio State, another test for women's soccer. And men's soccer, they're 13th. They're 1-1. They got the victory over UNF. They hit the road, tough matches at Virginia Tech and at North Carolina State. While we were away, I did have a question. You asked the question there, where were we on the final win and loss record?
I had at least one loss there. I think Mike has them 19-0. But
you're still sticking with them undefeated?
Yeah, I mean, I'm not backing away from that now. nothing has happened on the field since then. So why am I going to change my mind now? Until I see something on the field that tells me otherwise, I don't see too many teams on this schedule that are better than us.
Well, Trace, here's the deal.
Yes.
We need to hire an IT guy around here because not only did internet connections fail all night long, but somehow this guy has snuck into the stream. This guy, from what I understand, his name is Raj, and he's a big Boise fan. He goes at Boise Bleed Blue as his handle there. I think he's also the flag guy. Raj, can you hear us?
I can hear you guys. Can you hear me?
We can hear you.
Yeah.
That Smurf blue on your face.
Well, it's paint. I mean, this is a big deal for us. I'm not sure how big of a deal that you guys are taking this as, but Boise State, we take football pretty seriously where we're at.
How is the party, by the way? You're outside, right, at Island Wing Company out by UCF? That's where the Boise State pregame party is tonight?
Yeah. So Island Wing Company should be renamed Bronco Wing Company because it's been just taken over by Boise State fans.
How many people you guys got there? Like 10, 15? What's the crowd?
Yeah, we got like 5 or 6 fans. We're having a good time, and that's all you should expect tomorrow.
Do you even bother washing that paint off tonight, or are you just gonna let it roll all the way to tomorrow? You guys do it over again?
I've heard a lot of talk about you guys talking about the humidity and stuff like that. We're prepared, and I'm prepared. So this blue face paint is water resistant, sweat resistant, and will take me about 45 minutes to get off my face tonight. But that's what you got to do when you come to Florida. We're prepared. Boise State, the football players are prepared. I'm prepared. We're all prepared. So, yeah, it's going to be a bummer tonight standing in a shower 45 minutes, but it has to be done.
You also, as you shared with me, contribute to the Mountain West Wire. What do you make of all this talk of BYU? You're not a big fan of BYU possibly included in the Big 12. Is that something you think Boise State fits into the mix on as well?
So BYU is not a school we respect. I mean, they left the Mountain West before we got there. They're not a good football program based on what they've done. I know they beat you guys pretty badly last year.
Yeah, they did.
They did beat us. They did beat us, but we still hold like a pretty good record against them. But if that's what's going to happen with the Big 12, I'd love to see UCF there. I'm not sure what. I'm not going to pay attention to any of these rumors till anything is substantiated. But we all know that Boise State is either the best team that's out there. Sorry about that. Some guy just asked me if I wanted another blueberry.
Go Knights.
I think Boise State and Central Florida, and that's the only thing I'm going to call your university, are two of the best programs out there for the Big 12.
All right, Raj, I got 2 questions for you. A, that flag, was that carry-on? Did you check that? How'd you get that on the plane?
Yeah, great question. That is a great question. So I'll come correct. So I was pretty worried that the flag would not be able to be checked in. So I showed up 2 hours early to the airport, but I was able to be checked in. Unfortunately, something snapped off, but Island Wing Company helped me out. And not only am I a Bronco fanatic, I also have a degree in anthropology from Boise State. And I use my education to find a way to make this flag work.
Second question is Hank Bachmeier good?
Well, why don't you ask Florida State that? Do you guys think Florida State's good?
Not under Willie Taggart, they weren't.
Well, have you guys ever beaten Florida State?
I don't think we have, no.
We've only played them once, and that was about 25 years ago.
In 86, I think, 87.
So what happened in 86 or 87?
That was 95.
95, they beat us pretty good.
Okay. So we played Florida State, unlike you guys, there's a similar situation. We played Florida State one time. They ran up a big score talking about the humidity and stuff like that. And Hank Bachmeier rallied the troops as a true freshman, and he led us to a victory. And now he's a junior, so I don't think he's the kid that you expect, but he's going to be all right. And the person that you really need to worry about is named Khalil Shakir, number 2.
When you guys lose Thursday night, why will it have happened? What will happen to Boise State that will cause you to lose?
See, this is the thing that really interests me. This is like a fun new thing for you guys, having a football program, and I love it. I love seeing mid-majors show up and have a football program. We've been doing this for 20 years, win or lose. Boise State's going to still be around. We don't put up losing records ever. We don't have a losing record. We definitely don't have an 0-12 season, and we'll be fine. But I just expect a good game, and we're not going to be intimidated. So if you guys win and out-talent us. It happens. Tip of the cap, but we're not going to be scared. I hope me and my blue face paint don't look scared, because we're not scared whatsoever.
But seriously, what is your biggest concern about UCF? Where do you face the most challenge with the Knights?
Gabriel. Definitely Gabriel. I mean, and your running backs, I'm not going to give you a guarantee of victory. UCF has so much talent, and Gus Malzahn can coach. Gabriel's a good quarterback. You guys got some good running backs. Got a lot of talent. Boise State, we're a small school at Idaho. I'm not sure how we out-recruit you guys, but we do. I'm guessing that's because we have a much more storied program than you guys, and we've never gone 0-11 like you guys have done multiple times, which is okay. You guys are doing good now. But, we're not taking that for granted, that you're one of the best recruiting schools in the G5, not the best like us. But, Gabriel's the problem. But our defense is pretty good, and Boise State gets a lot of credit for their offense, but I think our defense is really what's made it. Definitely.
You guys are starting to sound a lot like programs like
one
Miami and Texas, talking about your past. 2007, Bachmeier was like in second grade when that Oklahoma game happened. What have you guys done the last 5-6 years?
Okay, so I'm glad you brought up 2007. So 2007 was a long time ago, right? So
Yes.
Since 2007, Boise State and UCF have won the same amount of big bowl games, right? Boise State has a better record than UCF. Boise State has won more division championships than UCF. Boise State has won more conference championships than UCF. So this is not a thing where, and you could check those numbers, because Boise State is not only beating UCF, they've beaten every other G5 since 2007. So we're not a one and done. We were receiving votes all last year in the AP. We ended up losing our last game due to COVID. No excuses. Tip of the cap to San Jose State. We lost 2 games. It's fine. We don't lose a lot of games. If we lose tomorrow, that's fine. But we don't lose more than 2 or 3 games in the season. So I don't know. Honestly, I do not know how you guys went through an 0-11 season and are showing up talking to me right now. I respect you guys. So I let me take my hat off and tip my cap to you guys.
Well, the head should be blue. Why isn't the head blue as well here?
Oh,
It is blue, but I think that sweat has played a role.
Well, you can find more of Raja's talking points at Boise Bleeds Blue and as a contributor for the Mountain West Wire. Enjoy Central Florida. Enjoy the humidity. Enjoy the game for about 10-15 minutes, and then have a long flight back out west.
Can I say one last thing?
Sure thing.
I just did.
38. Nice. 38-24 Boise State.
Lay the 4.5. Lay the 4.5, right, Mike?
Dude, this guy is good. What happens with the you said that paint is resistant to water? The tears too? Is that because that's what's going to happen about this time tomorrow?
We don't got too many tears this century. We're not like you guys who've just taken a couple of years off and just won a couple of big games. We've done pretty good this century. Look at our numbers. I don't want to be that guy that says hey, look us up, look what we've done. But really, look us up and look what we've done, dude. We don't play around, dude. We don't take years off and go 0-11. We win. We win a lot of games, and I'm not sure if we're going to beat UCF, but we're not going to be scared, and we're going to want to win that game tomorrow.
How many of those wins factor into tomorrow's game?
Quite a bit, because you guys. Wait, what did you guys go last year? 5-6, 4-7,
6-4.
6. What's up?
6-4.
6-4. Okay, so the last time Boise State lost 4 games would be 2015, and that was a really miserable season. So, I'm not sure. I think that you guys are better equipped to handle losses, right?
Why don't you close out the show with a wave of that flag of surrender so fans know what you look like as you give up during the game tomorrow.
Fair enough. Hey, I just want to say that UCF fans have been awesome, have been really kind and generous while we're here. And I do kind of feel bad that, that we're here. But hey, listen, I respect the courage for you guys to say hey, we want a shot at the king. And you know what they say? You take a shot at the king, you better not miss.
Good stuff, Raj. Thanks for joining us. Enjoy Central Florida.
Enjoy that
I'm
shower.
having a great time.
Well, he does have all the talking points down, doesn't he?
He does. No, he definitely hit the Wikipedia page, did a nice job. He's confused if we lost 11 games or 12 games, though. I can see how that can happen. It happens to all of us.
I think as he was about 15 minutes late, he has had a few out at the island.
It looked like a wild scene out there, Trey. I saw at least 1-2 other guys there. It looked like a wild scene. I hope if anyone's near the Island Wing Company, bring security in because I think it's going to be rowdy there tonight. So get some extra hands on deck over there.
All right, Mike, go through it again. Where's the tailgate? When are you going to be out there? When can we look for you?
IOA Plaza, right in front of the Roth Tower, main entrance of the stadium. I plan on getting there by 2 o'clock, give or take 10, 15 minutes. Look for the balloons. Just smell the potato salad from across campus. It will be easy to find. There will be a Sons of UCF sign on the tent. I put the map out there. I'll do it again tonight so everybody can see where we're at.
And Adam, you same time frame.
Yeah, I'm just gonna follow the wafting smell of potato salad from my parking space all the way to IOA Plaza. Luckily, the balloons will guide my way.
I'm going to look for the balloons. And should we all be there at the same time, believe it or not, it'll be the first time we're all together in the same place.
I don't. Maybe our internet won't work over there, Trace. I don't know. Maybe one of us will be frozen accidentally. You never really know.
Just glitch in person. Guys, I'm looking forward to talking about a real game and not
game day. Let's go.
Yeah, it's time. It's time. We've beaten this into the ground. It's time to talk about real X's and O's and the outcome of the game. And let's hope for a big UCF win to start the season and the Gus Malzahn era. And I imagine many fans looking forward to going to a Waffle House near UCF after that opening night victory. See you guys out at the Bounce House tomorrow and look forward to seeing many of you as well. I'm Trey Strelko. Go Knights!
Charge up!